No, down. Money down. Money down. Good boy. No money down. Lay down. Down. Nope, down. Good boy. Very good. Amani's got diarrhea right now, so unfortunately, he's gonna have to skip breakfast. He's got like super duper diarrhea. No, Ted, down. Down. Good boy. Just so Amani doesn't feel left out, I'm gonna drop like a couple pieces of chicken on this here. Good boy. Very good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Get it down. Down. Good boy. Good little dog. Little Mila. What a good little dog. Nope, down. Okay, down. Good. I know. Now, whoever's doing that. Now, I don't know what that's about. Good boy, Ted. So I heard growling while I was taking Domino's bowl out. I couldn't tell which dog it was coming from. Okay, Ted, down. Good. So I took my headphones off, and it was coming from Cade, and I think Cade was growling because I was taking Domino's bowl. So I just told him no, and he turned his head away and acknowledged that I don't like that behavior, and we're good, you know. Dogs will take giant leaps forward and then a couple steps back, you know, and vice versa. It just, it's all, you just work through it all, you know. I had a client show up the other day, Remy's mama. She was struggling a little on the walk when I first gave her the lead. The dog's forging ahead, it's not really minding her. But then we got in front of my house and she just started going back and forth and actually working the dog, like methodically, instead of, you know, just, I don't know. There's a difference between walking around the neighborhood and staying in one place to work your dog. She got really excellent results when she stayed in that one place. I brought out a dog or two and she continued to get good results. But then I brought out a dog and Remy got a little reactive and she just worked the dog through it. You know, she kind of slowed herself down, corrected the reactivity, did a little reset on herself and the dog, and just kept right on working her dog. Instead of allowing it to be like this big deal. No, down. Good. Instead of allowing it to be like this big deal where there was not only a lot of, you know, anxiety with the dog reactivity, but conflict between owner and dog, you know. Good girl, Remy. And so, when I say you should structure everything you do, this is a pretty extreme version of that for the average dog owner, but it's imperative for anyone who wants to run a tight kennel where dogs are at ease. And this right here is partially for me so I can live in a state of peace and I'm not like boiling with frustration all the time, right? But mostly it's for the dogs. I demand this for the survival and the mental well-being of our pack as a whole. And it's my job to do that as the leader of the pack. If I were to fail to do that, and I were to allow one super anxious dog to get the rest of the pack all worked up, I am failing the entire pack. No, down. Good boy, Ted. If I were to fail Ted by allowing him to continuously stand up in his crate and then start whining, it would get the rest of the pack worked up and they'd all start doing it. And then I lose control of the pack and I'm failing the pack if I do that. By allowing unwanted behaviors that frustrate you or unwanted behaviors from a dog that will frustrate other dogs, you're failing the whole pack. So the first thing you have to do is teach the dogs how to do this individually, one-on-one, outside of the kennel room. That's called crate training. Once the dog is crate trained enough so that I can start to, you know, work that dog in the kennel room by, you know, and by moving the dog into the kennel room, I'm putting more pressure on that dog, making things more difficult for that dog or any of these dogs. And so that's why I do it one-on-one, and I don't try and stick a whole bunch of brand new dogs in the same kennel room, none of whom have been taught to do what I want in a calmer environment. I would go insane, and so would the dogs. So all of this is incremental, it's step by step. But when I have this,
I have a calm, relaxed pack of dogs. Does that mean all of these dogs wanted to have to maintain downs while they're in their crates? No. In fact, I'd say not a single one of them wanted that. What they wanted to do is what they've always been doing, which is to fuss and stress out and become anxious and bark and whine and scream and scratch and bite and fight and put their lives in jeopardy. It all starts here, you know? How am I going to get him to stop wanting, not just to stop attacking other dogs, how am I going to get him to stop wanting to attack other dogs if I can't even get a dog to lie down and chill out in a crate? You know what I mean? So we got to take things one step at a time. How am I going to get a semi-neurotic dog that has this really quirky behavior where he'll suddenly just explode on people completely unprovoked in some cases, if I can't get him to lie down and shut up in a crate? It's never going to happen. Remy, who's sitting underneath the camera right now, you think I'm going to get that dog to a point where she no longer has the desire to attack company that come into her home when her mama lets them in? Not if I can't get her to lie down and chill out in a crate first. You can't ignore all of the steps that a dog has to go through in order to truly rehabilitate. But when I say leadership is everything, this is what I'm talking about. Leadership, dominance, pack leader, whatever word you want to use, it's about taking complete and total control over the behavior of every single dog in the house. Not just the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 dogs in here, but also another 2 pit bulls in another room, and then my 4 dogs, Sherpa, Lily, Noxie, and Barney. They all got to play by these same rules. There's not a single dog in my house that gets special treatment in the sense that I allow them to break rules for any reason. Plenty of dogs get plenty of special treatment. Plenty of dogs have to go through a lot of extra work. Plenty of dogs, whatever, this dog's awesome right here, even though he wanted to eat my hand a couple days ago. All I'm saying is, every dog's unique, and nobody ever brought me a dog that didn't have something that was just totally intolerable, unless it was a person that just had really high ambitions for their puppy. Or maybe they just had an adult dog that they had high ambitions for that they rescued. But most of them brought their dog to me because the dog was displaying some sort of behavior that scared them. And the vast majority of those dogs, it was leash reactivity. A lot of them, it was human aggression, biting people. I have rehabilitated a lot of dogs that have bitten people. But dog-on-dog aggression is way more common, especially in pit bulls. Because really, here's the reality of pit bulls. And I will fight anyone to the death who wants to argue or debate with me on this, because it's all I've ever had for my whole life. Every single dog in this room is a pit bull right now, except for tiny little Milo and Pluto, the 2 puppies. I really know this breed very well, and so I can say with confidence, it's actually pretty rare that you're going to come upon a pit bull who wants to bite you. You might even come upon a lot that behave really aggressively towards you and that are scary. But most of them, when they're doing that, they're backing away. They're not coming at you. They might be standing their ground, but most dogs in general, when they behave that way, they're going to back up a little. And that's just the dog being afraid. And as long as you leave it alone and you don't continue to try and approach it and or do something stupid like suddenly bolt and run in the opposite direction screaming, then you're probably going to be all right. I've had so many pit bulls come and go throughout this house, and like tons of them, and only a couple was I worried about taking a bite from. The thing you have to know about pit bulls is while they're very, very unlikely to bite people, they do, by and large, have a genetic propensity for dog-on-dog aggression, and we all know why. That doesn't mean pit bulls are dog aggressive. In fact, this guy here, Ted, he loves other dogs. Barney, my Red Bull, friendliest dog-on-dog dog I've ever known. I use Barney all the time because dogs will try to attack him and he'll just bounce away and come right back and try and play. He's the friendliest dog you will ever meet with other dogs. And he always has been very friendly with people, but he was a dangerous resource guarder when I first got him. Now I can kiss his face and take bones right out of his mouth while I'm doing it. But we don't fix. There's no such thing as, I hate the word fixing a dog, because it sounds just as ridiculous to me as the idea of fixing a human. We are always going to be a work in progress if we are living our best life, right? Like, I don't know any person that's ever been like, I'm good enough. Life's good enough, and yeah, I'm good. There's no corner of my life anywhere that needs improving anymore. I'm perfect, and so is my life. So are all the relationships I have with people I love and respect. Everything's in order and in line and just hunky-dory. No one ever said that. And so we don't ever want to think of our dogs that way. Like, just because a dog's not attacking someone anymore doesn't mean it's done. Just because a dog doesn't have any bad behaviors anymore and is also extremely obedient doesn't mean it's done. Especially if the dog's only 2 years old. What, are you just going to plateau the dog for the next 12 years? I mean, dogs are always capable of getting better and better at what we've taught them. They are also always capable of learning more new things. Me personally, I'm not interested in teaching my dogs that many things to do, because in order to keep them good at those things, like every new thing you teach your dog to do, you have to maintain, Oh, no. I was like, what the heck is that? Noxie's scratching herself inside her crate. With every new thing you teach your dog, you've got to maintain that, And so if your dog knows 100 tricks, that's going to be hours and hours per week you have to spend just to keep the dog really good at those things, practicing with it. I don't have that time, and I don't need my dogs to do 100 different things. I need my dogs to be capable of doing 10 things really, really, really reliably and really tightly and quickly, and just, that's all I need. And if I have those things, it makes molding all of their behavior that has nothing to do with obedience training that much easier. If I have a dog whose behavior is molding into a calmer, less anxious dog, it makes the obedience training that much easier. The two go hand in hand. It's a two-way street. But obedience training is not behaviorism or behavior modification. But they need both. The problem comes when obedience trainers try to take on dogs that have extreme, intolerable behaviors. because obedience training won't fix those behaviors. All the obedience training in the world will not fix a dog who, trembles and drools and shakes and shits just because you put it into a crate and then starts having a panic attack in that shit and screaming its brains out and biting at the crate and trying to bust out and putting its life in danger by doing so. It's just, that's not, that we can't fix that by teaching the dog to come, sit, down, stay, etc. But if the dog's really good at the command down, we sure got a leg up on fixing that crate crazy. If the dog is not crate crazy, we sure got a leg up on teaching the dog how to lay down once it goes in the crate, because it can focus and it's not in the middle of a mental meltdown. So it's always, all of this is just a balanced approach, but a very, very honed in and focused balanced approach. Where I just want the dogs, it's like sometimes the hardest thing to teach a dog to do is relax. And a lot of people don't realize that oftentimes you can correct anxiety. I don't want to use the word punish. You can correct anxiety by using training tools a certain way and by how you live with your dog. It's never just about the tools, right? They are a part of this. Kind of like, someone could give me a set of carpenter tools, but if I tried to build a house, God help the person that's going to try and sleep inside of it that night. You know what I mean? So tools won't fix the problem. The user of those tools has to know how to use them, has to understand why they work. How does it produce this behavior? But they also have to No. But they also have to understand that it goes in tandem with all kinds of other stuff, such as setting very clear personal boundaries. Dogs aren't allowed to jump on me. They're not allowed to incessantly lick me. I'm not going to smother them with massive amounts of unearned physical affection, because that is all stuff that's counterproductive to getting this. And so it's not always perfect. And a lot of running a kennel this tightly has to do with being patient in the beginning. Because when you have this many dogs in one room, there's always going to be one of them at some point that's making a mistake, that's getting up and becoming fussy. So it is a non-stop rotation of corrections where I'm constantly bringing everybody back down, physically and metaphorically, right? If I were to get upset because all day long, whenever I walk into the kennel room for the first week, I have to correct dogs and bring them back into their downs, then I would never be able to accomplish this. If you want the dogs to calm down and be in a calm state of mind, you have to be. So if you come in here yelling at the dogs, all pissed off because they're making noise, or because it's the 100th time that day that you've told that dog to lie back down, you can't get frustrated over that stuff any more than a teacher can get frustrated at a student because they can't get the math problem right. As long as they're trying. And trust me when I tell you, every single one of these dogs is trying to do what I want them to do. They are all working nobly for me. They're working really hard. This initially is really hard work for the human and the dog. But then it becomes something they enjoy, just like obedience training. It's like, wow, I never knew how much I love staying by your side and doing everything you say and getting praise and rewards and treats for doing it. It's awesome. It's so much fun, and the dogs love it if you're personally engaged with them. But what dog knew that it was so much more fun to lie down on soft bedding and sleep than it was to remain in a 24-hour-a-day state of panic and anxiety, right? Not to say that they were all that bad. Like Ted, I don't think of him as that kind of dog. And Cade, definitely not that kind of dog. But Remy, Amani, Casper, and Domino, these are all dogs that even when they're outside of the crate, they are in a state of anxiety 24 hours a day. Just always on overdrive, overstimulated, not really able to calm themselves down. No, down. And so it's up to us to teach them how, to lead them. And sometimes that requires us forcing them to do things that they might think they don't want to do in the beginning, but a week later they're like, oh my God, this is so wonderful. I never knew this existed. I didn't know. Down. Good. I never knew it existed. I didn't think I could trust you when you were trying to show me that there's a better way. But now I know, right? I mean, this poor lady, oh my goodness, this beauty right here, for the first, I don't know, I'd have to look back, but for days, this dog panted. Not constantly, but quite a bit, especially when I would run the laundry machine. But with enough work and with enough perseverance, I want to push these dogs as hard as I can, as long as it's productive, And our dogs are usually capable of giving us a lot more than we think. But we have to push them, just like you have to push a kid sometimes. Not that you should treat dogs like kids, because they're not, but I'm just saying, it's okay to push a dog a little. Without a little bit of struggling through something, they're never going to get to this point. The difficulty is knowing how to push and when and how much. And that's really tough for a lot of, it's impossible to know until you've got the experience. Maybe you get it from a really good trainer and behaviorist. Maybe you learn on your own through trial and error, which is, I guess, for me, it's kind of been a combination of the two. But this right here, I am far more happy about, content with, proud of, and no matter how tight the obedience becomes with any of these dogs, no matter how, I don't care if I have them jumping through hoops, walking in between my legs, doing really cool stuff with tugs. I don't care about any of that if I can't get this first, because this is so much more important to me, because without it, I have no peace of mind. So that's it.